Hello YouTube, and welcome back to the channel and all that stuff the professionals say. And today we're going to make a special DIY tool. No, it'll be pretty simple. These are 1.5 inch nuts. The wrench goes on. It's 1 inch bolt. There's a formula for that. Okay, what we're going to do to this is we're going to put a slot across here that is about probably 5/16 in width. Okay, now we haven't quite decided if we want to just freehand it with a grinder or try to drill a hole so far down, right? And then go ahead and cut to that. We haven't decided that yet. We're just going to wing it. I think I'm just going to take the grinder and go for it. By the time you try drilling through and all that. But we have to make this bolt level. Okay, we want this level. It's dished in. You see that? Okay. What it'll be is there'll be a slot here, make this simple, and this nut will be rounded. See how they got a round look to it? See that? We'll use the grinder, then the disc sander, belt sander, whatever it takes. Okay, now down here there's going to be a pin on here. So the object is when you lay a rod in there, which I don't have one, we'll simulate with an ink pen. There'll be a rod in the slot, there'll be a pin coming up here. And all that's going to happen is when you turn this with a wrench, the pin going vertically will bend the rod around. So you'll see as we go. It's really simple to make. You don't even really need a welder, I don't think. If you could find a way to get the rod coming out of here, this is the thing I'm going to have to weld, the little piece of rod. We're probably not going to weld this nut. We'll probably get the slot the way we want and put some Loctite on it, or better yet, I think we'll put some epoxy on it, okay? Because it's probably never really going to move that much. So we're going to wing this as we go it, as they say. Wing it as we go. That's how we're going to do it. We'll just see what happens. Because if it's a failure, you're not going to see the video. So you know it's going to work already. It's kind of like watching Batman and Robin when they get captured by the penguin, and you know they're going to escape, or there won't be any more shows. There, enough of that. No, I don't promote any cartoons, any shows, any products. The bolt was $5, and that's for $2 a piece at a hardware store. So there you go. Well, we've got $9 in here so far for parts. So stay tuned. We'll come back and we get a little progress done. The first thing to do is get this level, which we'll probably grind with a 4.5 inch grinder, and then we'll sand and flapper it. And we'll probably sacrifice the back of a nut. It'll probably be on the bottom, just to use as something to go by as we sand it flat. And then we'll flip it over to be hidden down here. So I'll show you that later. So stay tuned. We need to less talk, more work on this. Okay, that's pretty flat. Next thing to do is take the corners off a nut, which we'll use a different nut, or we'll flip this one over. This where we ground will be probably on the bottom where it's hid. We'll probably grab another one. This will probably be flipped over and be towards this way. And the whole idea is this will be clamped in a vise using the head of the bolt. So here we go. You'll see how it works as we go. Okay, take a 1/2 and 1/2. This is just under 1.5 inches across here, but I know that's what size nut it is. See how that overlaps when you go from here to here? We're going to draw down the middle. Ain't no sense in making these precise. I mean, you know to go down the middle. So here we go. We're going to draw that line. We're going to put a slot on here and grind just a little bit before we take the corners off of this. So measure this and make the slot first. You know what I mean? Because this is going to be rounded off. This nut will be. The top one, not the bottom one, might be part of it. So I want to make that clear. Get this part done first. Okay, one more thing before I go. This is going to be 5/16 wide. So I just took 5/32 off each side of the center. Okay, if you double that, that is 10/32, and you round that around, that's 5/16. And this is not going to be set in the vise exactly. See, say it was in a vise like this on the head of the bolt, because I want to be able to start around here before I start bending. So I didn't want it straight this way or straight that way. So that's just my preference. You can make it any way you want. So Here we go. We're going to go start cutting on this. I hope it holds up. And that's about the approximate depth. Not quite half the nut. Probably 3/8 of an inch down. So it's nothing's precise on it. It's just a simple tool. It's not going on a space shuttle. Okay, this is easier than what you might think. Once I got my slot here and here and one down the middle, the back of your blade's usually flat. Okay, this is what gets curved. Okay, I ground down here with my grinder, okay, but then I'd put the back up here, the flat part, and go down. Okay, and just go straight down. Then I'd flip around, I'd come over to this side. So you're alternating how you're holding your grinder, so beware where you're throwing your sparks. Then I kind of wobble back and forth to clean the groove. I don't know if this file will work. Seems to work better on wood. We're going to file it out a little bit. We had a piece of test rod, okay, 5/16 rod. It might be rusty, but it goes in there deep enough, I think. You know, if we test it and it doesn't turn out, we'll make it a little deeper. But I think that's deep enough by the time I'm done filing. I didn't want to get too carried away with the grinding and ruin it. The hardest part is keeping this nut from spin. You see how these aren't locked together. But my vise is made with angle iron at angles, so I can put some really weird stuff in there. So I had this just on the edge of my jaws, because I got angle iron in it. It goes like this, so I get all that clearance. So I could grab just this nut. So you're on your own figuring out how to hold this. I said once it's done, it'll be epoxy together, because this nut will be one turning. I said this will all be rounded. This has to be rounded around at least halfway. I'll probably do the whole thing. Now we're going to do a little bit of filing. Like I said, we could probably take our grinder and go a little bit more on this left side. I want to show this detail, so like the same here. We'll see what the file does. We'll see what else works. You're not going to do much with a Dremel tool. I mean, this ain't grade 8 bolts. They're just grade 5. See, 3 marks at 2. So it's not hard to grind. So stay tuned. We'll see what happens. Okay, my round file did do rather well. Because it's supposed to be for metal and wood. I'm sure it's for metal also. Almost could just keep going and make it fit 3/8 rod, because it is a little while, but still, when you're bending, you're going to stop. It's not when you're bending, you're going to stop and it looks at 90 degrees. You're going to check with a square. So it is just a simple tool. The problem was getting the right depth. I had to file a lot in the middle here. It was deeper on the outside, so I had to make sure when I put my round file in there to keep making the trough. And I took the square to file the sides, so they're pretty flat, and I went across the top. And now we're going to mark this. We're going to put a center punch somewhere when we take this apart, because we have to round the nut. I was kind of using that as, hey, let me get this out of the way. I was kind of using the crook of this for a depth gauge. You know, kind of go across, see what I, kind of judge that. See what I mean? I was kind of using that as a depth gauge. It's just off something. It's got plastic on the handle. I'm going to make something out of it. Something out of my junk pile. So we're making a long video out of a short project, but oh well. There you go. So we're going to mark this with a center punch. We're going to put a punch mark, because this is going to come apart so we can round this nut. And we're going to take the first corners off with the big grinder, 4.5-inch grinder, and then we'll take it to our disc sander or belt sander. So, on with the show. I want to show this real quick. See how wide that is? Just pay attention, make the same width. So I'm just touching the circle, and I'll take these off with the disc sander. Or, might have to touch it up a little bit. I might do it just a little bit out here. Wear your gloves, it's hot. I'm going to be grabbing that, turning it. Okay, I did all this with my 36 grit sanding disc that I've showed, where it's just a flat disc, not a flapper. Said I took the corners off, and then you got to go on either side of that corner, and you can see it still needs to be finished on the disc sander, but I think you're getting the idea. We're going to have a peg coming off of here, off the nut. So when you want to bend the rod, it's going to come around and grab that. And I have a big old wrench welded on here. I'm going to sacrifice a big wrench and weld it on here. I don't have an 1.5-inch wrench, but I'm going to make something fit. Like I said, when I put this in the vise, I want to start, I want to start back here so I can start back here and bend around. You know, so I can go around the corner of my bench. I don't want to start this way. Okay, and I don't want to start back here. So I figured out the best. Like that. So I can bend it around over on the corner. I think you get the idea. You see, this nut's going to loosen when you turn that way. See, that's tight. It's going to loosen. We'll figure out how we're going to weld that rod on there in the wrench. It's going to take a while. It might be a few days before I'm back here finishing this. But we're going to get the nut rounded. And before we leave here filming this part, this will be all one video or two. I don't know. Depends on how many minutes long it is. Let's talk more work. Let's go get this part rounded, and then we'll at least come back and show you that rounded. So it's better. So it looks more quality. I mean, it's not a machine shop here. We had a lathe. We'd put it on a lathe. You know that. I'm just showing you how to do it with just a few simple tools of just a grinder. You could have hacksawed probably that slot out and filed it. Okay, back to work. Okay, this with the disc sander with it standing up, rolling it like this along it, and then I took it to the belt sander like this with my fingers on either side down on the rest and let it kind of roll a little bit. My finger kept turning it. So it's not perfect, but it doesn't have to be perfect. See if I can get my dots lined up. See my two dots. Said make a witness mark on there. Then we're done. We'll probably take a sanding flapper just to the top of it. Okay, now I'm taking a break and figure out how we're going to put the peg on here. I'm glad we got a MIG welder that'll weld small stuff. How we're going to put a peg, it'll probably be a piece of 5/16 or 1/4 inch on here. So when my rod's in there, you might as well show this. So when my rod's on there, it'll come around. I might have to weld it to one of these. See how it sticks out further? See? I might have to weld it out there. We'll see. We're not committed yet. It has to grab the rod, which will bend it and pull it around. It even has to be heated on some of the, I'm sure 1/4 inch won't have to be heated. I'm positive of that. But this stuff, who knows what it is. Because I plan on making something out of this. Yes, there's flies in here. They're trying to come in because it's warmer than outside. See if we can get a fly on camera. Oh man, I got it. Oh, hope nobody gets squeamish about that. It's gone. We're out of here for a break.